talk about my experience with Ascension. And you can look up a definition for it, and it'll talk about different things that happen during Ascension and just kind of a general definition. But this is my experience with it, and I wanted to touch on it because it's a very noticeable part of our spiritual journey. So, after experiencing soul recognition with my twin flame, I went through activation, which actually was how I was turned on to my spiritual journey. Once I accepted my spiritual journey by opening my heart to the need to make changes within my life by aligning with my soul, opening to that guidance, which I believe this is true for everyone, but for me, it was through building my relationship with myself on a spiritual foundation. And by a spiritual foundation, I mean through my divine energy. As you may have come across, many people discuss divine feminine, divine masculine as this and that. They often refer to the counterparts of a twin flame dynamic as being the divine masculine or the divine feminine. Like they'll say, my divine feminine, or I'm the divine masculine, blah, blah, blah. But this is inaccurate. Divine masculine, divine feminine are energetic traits of the soul as we describe them. They're the polarity of the soul. And when we find our unique balance with our soul frequency, we find our harmony of divine feminine and divine masculine, and in turn with our counterpart because we share our soul. After moving on to my spiritual path, I began experiencing ascension where I would have certain things presented to me, often with surrounding signs and synchronicities, and on some level I would gain knowledge and or awareness of what was being presented to me, whether I would consciously acknowledge them or not in the moment. And I say consciously acknowledge because oftentimes things might not register consciously, but they would through ascension. And after I would recognize that, I would realize that I had experienced it before. It was like, oh, this actually came to me earlier, but I didn't realize it, or maybe it didn't seem important, um, or maybe I just didn't completely understand it. But I often describe this journey as likened to baby bites, where we're being fed sustenance a little at a time, and sometimes we're able to take it all in. Other times we may not be very open to it. We might spit it out, might get smeared across our face, but it gets cleaned up and it gets fed to us again until we finally take it all in. And many people describe it being like a corkscrew that gradually opens or a spiral staircase that expands outwardly as you climb it. The thing about ascension is it's really beautiful with the way it comes to you a little each time. The way we're made aware of something, and then we may gain knowledge on several other things that don't even seem related, but then these same things get presented to us again, and suddenly we have this greater awareness and more knowledge of each of them, and they tie in together. At least this has been my experience, and pretty much every bit of my greater awareness and knowledge has worked this way. These moments of ascension are often described as aha moments where things come together and they just make sense. So, this started at the very beginning of my journey and has been a continual part of my path for growth. And truly, it's what makes my journey so exciting. Like, I love those moments where I just get that clarity and learning things that we can't even yet prove in our physical world. And I'm sure a lot of people feel like they're meant to figure out this journey as a twin flame. I know I am. And you may have often heard that you don't have to figure it out, and you don't. It's going to happen either way. But I do believe that allowing yourself to be open to gaining knowledge through your guidance, ultimately that's where it always needs to come from. I mean, you can seek outwardly, but turning inwardly, you are always going to get your tailored guidance for your journey. But I believe that I'm a natural born troubleshooter. I think that this is part of my journey. Like, since I was a little kid, I used to dig out tools and take things apart and put them back together to try to figure out how they work. And that's always been a part of my career as well, and just actually hobbies too. But I do feel like this is a part of my journey to figure out the structure of this dynamic. And while it may vary from other people's experiences, I do think there is a basic structure to it for those who are experiencing a spiritual journey as a shared soul. And what makes this especially interesting is that as a shared soul, you are sharing ascension with your counterpart. Once both are activated, both experience physical and spiritual growth cycles. So, ascension will be energetically mirrored in your twin.